Over the last 30 plus years, there have been 75 films that have been made that feature Marvel characters. That's right, 75. And we know you've wondered how they rank up against one another. Well, wonder no more, because we here at the Lapse Geek Podcast have compiled a list and have ranked them for you. And we're starting right now. Starting off with number 75 and the worst of this list, we have Fantastic Four 2015, or Fant Four Stick. Josh Trank in the studio famously fought over the vision of this movie, and we have no idea who won, but we do know that the audience lost. Number 74, The Punisher, 1989. You're thinking to yourself, there was a Punisher movie in 1989 starring Dolph Lundgren, and no, there was not. Number 73, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. This movie featured Idris Elba and Nicolas Cage and the guys who made Crank. I guess 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Number 72, X-Men Origins, Wolverine. Mute pool. We barely knew ye. Number 71, Madam Web. We bet you didn't see this one coming. Number 70, Morbius. Maybe if they released it a third time, it would have made bank, huh? Number 69, 69, Elektra. We blame Colin Farrell for not finishing the job in Daredevil. Number 68, Howard the Duck. This movie tried to warn us about George Lucas in 1989, but we would not listen. Number 67, Ghost Rider. We love us some Nicolas Cage, but despite Cage being Cage, this was a cookie-cutter Hollywood production that deserved to get the pen and stare. Number 66, Blade, Trinity. Who knew sexy Dracula wasn't going to be the answer? Number 65, Hulk. Gamma-irradiated dogs and an Oedipal-absorbing man does not a good Hulk movie make. Number 64, the latest on this list, Venom, The Last Dance. The sequel baiting suggests this is not The Last Dance, but please just stop it. Number 63, Punisher, Warzone. Let's just say that after this movie, the Punisher only ever showed up on television. Number 62, X-Men, The Last Stand. This is the first time they would do the Dark Phoenix saga, but sadly not the last, as the title suggests. Number 61, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, a.k.a. the movie that did so badly that Sony had to give part of the rights back to Marvel to salvage the character. Number 60, X-Men, Dark Phoenix. Please stop doing this story. Number 59, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I love Tom Hardy and I love Woody Harrelson, and this movie completely wastes their talents, a good IP, and some valuable time. Number 58, Daredevil. This movie kept Ben Affleck from marrying J-Lo for the first time, so it couldn't have been all bad. Number 57, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Gas Cloud Galactus was never going to cut it, and it took 4 writers to come up with that joke. Number 56, Spider-Man 3, Toby dancing, Topher venoming, and Kirsten doing whatever that was, doomed this final installment of the Raimi trilogy. Number 55, The Eternals. I like this movie, fight me. Number 54, The New Mutants. Doing The New Mutants without the X-Men is like doing Venom without Spider-Man. Wait a second. Number 53, Iron Man 2. The first appearance of War Machine and Black Widow couldn't save this movie from an inconsequential plot. Number 52, Thor, The Dark World. Wasting Malekith the Accursed in the Casket of Ancient Winter story should put this movie even lower. What were we thinking? Number 51, X-Men, Apocalypse. Apocalypse was one of the greatest villains to come from the X-Men franchise. Wait, why am I using the past tense? Number 50, Blade 2. Donnie Yen is in this, so show some respect, peasants. Just a little, though, because he was criminally underused. Number 49, Venom. Doing Venom without Spider-Man should not have cracked the top 50. Number 48, Fantastic Four, 2005. We all really wanted a Fantastic Four movie until this came out. Number 47, The Incredible Hulk, a very solid Hulk movie that couldn't overcome a previous missed attempt with the character and disagreements with its star. Number 46, Thor, a great effort with a difficult property. It gave us the fantastic Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Number 45, The Punisher, 2004, a movie that suffers from trying to be too cute with the Punisher. At least we got the Russian. Number 44, The Wolverine. Did you ever think it would be cool to see Wolverine battle a giant CGI robot samurai? Neither did we. Number 43, X-Men. Trust a few, fear the rest is 100% not the message of Professor X or the X-Men. Number 42, Avengers, Age of Ultron. A perfectly fine follow-up to the first Avengers that had epic repercussions for the MCU. Number 41, Blade. There's only been one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade. Number 40, X-Men, First Class. A fantastic reboot that examined the origins of the franchise. Number 39, Iron Man 3. This would have been higher if it wasn't for a miscue with the Mandarin. Number 38, Ant-Man and the Wasp. A decent follow-up that was mostly a setup for Ant-Man to skip to Endgame. Number 37, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. MODOK was awesome, but Kang was treated terribly and ended any chance of this character being the big bad moving forward. Number 36, The Amazing Spider-Man, a solid reboot that unfortunately followed Sam Raimi's initial film beat for beat with little to distinguish itself. Number 35, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This film overpromised and underdelivered, and we're still not over how poorly the Illuminati fared against the Scarlet Witch. Number 34, Black Widow, a good movie that was made too late and then released during the COVID pandemic. Number 33, Doctor Strange. The villains were meh, the Ancient One was miscast, but Cumberbatch was born to be strange. Number 32, X2, X-Men United. Once considered to be the pinnacle of superhero cinema, it's still good, but it just got surpassed. Number 31, Iron Man, the one that started it all and gave us the best cinematic time in history to be a geek. Number 30, Ant-Man. Marred by Edgar Wright's exit, Paul Rudd still pulls off a by-the-numbers MCU production. Number 29, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, a beautiful goodbye to Chadwick Boseman that also demonstrated how much the franchise misses his presence. Number 28, Thor: Love and Thunder. How did this get this far up the list? What the... Number 27, Captain America: Civil War, ostensibly the third Avengers movie. We just wish there were more characters like the comics. Number 26, Captain Marvel, a perfectly mid-origin film. Number 25, Thor: Ragnarok. The only problem with this movie is that it should have been 2 films. Number 24, The Marvels, a good film that unfortunately required Disney Plus homework and was hampered by a poor villain. Go ahead. What's her name? Number 23, Spider-Man. Sam Raimi gave us the first A-list Marvel movie, and it may not have been perfect, but it was glorious regardless. Number 22, Deadpool, the movie that had no business being made until Reynolds outfoxed Fox and gave us the merc with a mouth as he was meant to be. That took 5 writers to write that joke. Number 21, Spider-Man 2. Raimi and crew outdid themselves in the second installment of this franchise with solid performances and a fantastic villain. Number 20, X-Men: Days of Future Past, one of the greatest X-Men stories done justice on the big screen that we'll even forgive making Wolverine the protagonist. Number 19, Deadpool 2. Marred by too many characters and the loss of the love story, this still brought laughs and fun. Number 18, Spider-Man: Far From Home. There was no sophomore slump for the Holland Spidey, as this was a great, fun film of our favorite webhead. Number 17, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We finally got the real Mandarin, except we didn't, but it was still pretty cool. Number 16, Spider-Man: Homecoming, the new Spider-Man reboot following Civil War that brought the character into the MCU. Solid all around. Number 15, Logan, a touching, raw, final farewell to the Wolverine. Until it wasn't, and until you're 90. Number 14, Big Hero 6. This movie had no right being this good, and I'm not crying. You're crying. Number 13, Captain America: The First Avenger. Same movie as Wonder Woman. If you saw one, you saw both. Number 12, The Avengers. The culmination of Phase 1 MCU. This was the movie that comic book fans would not even dare to believe was possible until it was made. Number 11, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Technically the end of Phase 3, but also the start of the multiversal saga. This movie completed Spidey's origin in the MCU. Before we continue with the top 10, we just want to thank you for all the love and support that you've given us over the last few months. We here at the Lapsed Geek Podcast love making this type of content for you. So if you haven't already and you've made it this far, go down there, hit the like, hit the subscribe, show us a little bit more of that love and support that we've come to expect from you guys. And now, without further ado, we move on to the top 10. Number 10, Deadpool Wolverine. At a time when audiences started talking about superhero fatigue, Deadpool Wolverine burst into theaters to show us that sometimes what you need is a little bit of fun, a lot of bullets, and a few hundred F-bombs. Clearly paving the way for the debut of the X-Universe in the MCU, this movie was pivotal for a franchise that felt like it was flagging. It maintained its traditional irreverence, making fun of the MCU and its perceived decline, while poking fun and showing respect simultaneously to Marvel characters that had been featured in 20th Century Fox and New Line Cinema movies. Reynolds and Jackman may indeed be doing these until they're 90, but if the movies are this fun, hey, we're in. Number 9, Black Panther. We're torn about this film. On the one hand, it's beautiful, from its world building to its diverse set of characters to a fantastic performance by the late Chadwick Boseman. The complexity of the Killmonger character also adds to how fantastic the film is, but then we get things like the over CGI fight sequence in the end between Black Panther and Killmonger that completely rips us out of the film. If it were any other fight, it would have been okay, but this was the climax of the movie. I guess overall the film is still fantastic despite a couple missteps. Number 8. Avengers Infinity War. The dust ending alone that traumatized my son deserves 8th place, but this film legitimized Thanos like no other villain in cinematic history. Thanos wins and racks up a body count unmatched in film, and you knew you had to show up to watch Endgame to see how it would all end. Managing the massive cast and roughly 10 different plot lines to gel into one cohesive tale was a Herculean task that the Russo brothers pulled off deftly. Infinity War was the Empire Strikes Back of the MCU, and we suspect that it's going to climb this list in the years to come as people realize its greatness. Number 7. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, a beautiful follow-up to a great movie that only ranks below its predecessor because of its cliffhanger nature. Well, that and that its predecessor is really, really, really good. The third film will define some of the choices made in this chapter, but if the first two films are any indication, this may be the most consistently high-quality franchise featuring a Marvel character. That's because later on we have a team, and we'll get to that. And while this franchise is only peripherally in the MCU, hands down, it's handled the multiverse better than its live-action counterparts. Number 6. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't usually have any trust in Sony outside of the Peter Parker Spider-Man, and with good reason. Morbius, Venom, and Madam Web have taught me to be wary of anything outside of the mainline Spidey films. But we are huge fans of Miles Morales, and we all wanted this to succeed. What we got was nothing short of amazing. Or maybe spectacular? The animation was beautiful, the story was touching and fun and action-packed, and most importantly, it served to cement Miles as worthy of the Spider-Man name, and not only in the comics or in the video games, but on the big screen. We have reached the ever-important top 5, and coming in at number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The only thing that brings this sophomore installment down are the competing narratives. Now, while Chris Pratt may be the star or the lead actor in an ensemble cast, other stories felt more compelling this time around, such as the tale between Gamora and Nebula. Star-Lord's journey was predictable this time around, but overall, we're still dealing with a very, very solid film, and it deserves number 5 on this list. Number 4. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Perhaps the third installment of the Guardians franchise learned from its second film, because even though this volume told a myriad of stories just like the second one, it felt tighter and more focused. The focus on Rocket, his loss, and how he came to find family and friends again with the Guardians is a heart-wrenching journey. The difference this time is the ensemble stories complement one another and strengthen one another rather than compete for screen time. If this is the last time we see the Guardians in this iteration, then they went out on top, like champions. Number 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Wow, 3 Guardians movies in a row in the top 10 and in the top 5. DC could possibly be in very good hands for the first time. Seriously, this franchise was a tree, a raccoon, a wrestler, Zoe Saldana, and Andy from Parks and Rec. And while it was funny, people often miss the heart at the core of this team. It's that heart that makes it difficult to understand and replicate the success of this elusive franchise. Suicide Squad famously tried and failed despite its box office success. Now that Disney has reacquired its catalog, it's highly unlikely we'll get a big-budget film of such a quirky cast anytime soon. Guardians was so amazing, not simply for the quality of the film, but because it was such an unexpected surprise. Number 2. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. An unbelievable movie that truly showed Steve Rogers as a super soldier like never before. The use of the shield as a devastating offensive weapon, Cap's martial prowess, and his unabashed patriotism was a masterclass in how to adapt and elevate a comic book character. It also introduced a Darth Vader-level villain in the Winter Soldier as a dark mirror to Captain America, showing us what Steve might have become if he simply followed orders without question or conscience. This movie may actually be better than the number 1, but that one is simply more epic. And finally, it has the best opening scene of any MCU movie, hands down. On your left. And we come to number 1, and I hate to be predictable, but number 1 is Avengers Endgame. Easily the greatest, most satisfying ending to a trilogy or saga in cinematic history, Endgame elevated the bar for superhero movies to a height we may never see again. Never before had we been given a 22-film build-up to a finale, and it's safe to say the expectations were high for Avengers Endgame. Failure meant joining the ranks of Godfather 3, The Rise of Skywalker, The Revenge of the Sith, Blade Trinity, X-Men, The Last Stand, Spectre, and so many others, but success meant rarefied air, and Endgame sits at the throne of all comic book movies. So bow down, geeks. And that brings us to the end of our list. Like what you heard and saw, please give us a like and subscribe. Come back here for our next video. Thank you guys. We love your support. Have a great day.